So just the contrast, I think that a man who is established in his career, established in his life, he has a spouse, he has children, he's part of his church, he's known in his church, he's a pillar of his church. That man, when he says something, has greater clarity, greater. He can actually rise above the limited cap that I think an Anon is going.
Yeah.
I think the goal of every man should be that I can say what I need to say in this culture and it not affect me.
Yeah.
And I'm not fearful. Hi, my name is Jerry Doris, and this is Tanner Cartwright, and this is Snake on the Table.
Morning, brother.
What's a snake, man?
Snake today is it permissible for Christians to have anonymous accounts online, and what are the benefits / pitfalls?
Dude, I sure hope so. I outed myself here recently for having Anon accounts.
You got like 4, don't you?
I have 4. I was trying to think, it's 4, and I may have some old ones that I have forgotten. I've used the Anon accounts for reconnaissance, righteous reconnaissance.
Sure.
Or holy espionage,
Yeah.
however you can think of it that way. And it's been super helpful.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, because we've actually been able to be a part of.
Don't say what.
Yeah, of things. Yeah, I want to reveal because it's so awesome, and especially when you talk about the different my Anon accounts, they're so clever.
Yeah,
and
they really are.
They have gotten me some incredible access.
Laughed out loud many times. So the question, here's the issue people have is that if you have an anonymous account, you can say anything with no repercussions. With no
right.
The caricature is that. So do you remember the old song by Brad Paisley, 2000s era, come out?
Bro, I'm not gay. I don't listen to that kind of music, man.
Brad Paisley was great, man.
Okay, sure.
Online, I live in Hollywood. You remember? You don't
no,
remember.
I have no idea what you're saying.
So there's a song about a guy that lived in his mom's basement, and he was like 5'3" and short and fat, and all this stuff.
Okay.
But online, I live in Hollywood. I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
I
Okay.
look so good.
Yeah.
And so that was my first introduction to the idea of being anonymous.
Yeah.
Was that song, thinking through that.
Yeah.
And so that's the caricature. That's the accusation that people have. It's like, oh, you're just a sorry, good for nothing.
Yeah.
And you're accomplishing nothing, but you have this anonymous account to try to make yourself look good.
Yeah.
On your anonymous account, you're taller and you're doing family worship or you're whatever.
Yeah. I don't perceive. So I think we can confess that we also know other Anons.
I know a lot of.
I know a lot of Anons, and they're not
at our church and not at our church.
Correct. Right. All over the place.
I know a good brother who has an Anon account who is a very successful man.
Yeah.
And he's in his early 40s and already has grandchildren and a big farm and all this stuff. The dude is killing it.
Yeah.
And it's like this guy is the quintessential faithful husband leading his wife and children and family.
Yeah.
He has an Anon account.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the problem with that?
Yeah, so I don't think we're talking about somebody who's presenting themselves as somebody they're not necessarily. Now that's been my usage.
No,
espionage.
Yes.
So and I don't really ever say anything. Although in one group I've almost risen to be the leader of the group which is amazing. And that one's been I think I can reveal some of that. That's been like the Christo-pagan, Trinitarian witches and stuff like that. Because we've just wanted to know what was going on in our area and stuff like that. So to be a part of that group has been helpful. One, to really understand their mindset. How do you reconcile these kind of things? So that's from an espionage, Caleb and Joshua type of a scenario in my mind. But presenting yourself as somebody you're not, and I know some people that have done that, but they're not anonymous.
Yeah.
I think that's problematic.
Sure.
And that's where I want to speak to the heart of the person that's doing that. You know, who are you?
Yeah, but what you just said, that's a temptation, whether you're anonymous or not.
Oh, yeah.
To present yourself in a way that you're not actually.
Absolutely. That's social media.
On social media.
That's social media.
That's the temptation. Yeah.
Everything is hunky-dory. There's never any problems. And
it's the person that's taking a picture with their Bible and their coffee, but they didn't actually read it.
Yeah, or the pastor who's taking the picture of his study notes. I just tweeted about that last night. So it's frustrating, and I've done it before.
Yeah,
and it's a desire for affirmation. And,
sure.
Yeah. Anyways, but I don't think we're talking about that group. So we're talking about someone who is anonymous to protect their livelihood.
Yeah.
And to amplify their voice. And I think there are righteous. I think that's good.
Well, frankly, so we've got two things to discuss: the current climate in our day, and the idea of anonymity just in general. So if you look throughout history, Vindicii contra Tyrannus was a book written by a French Huguenot in the.
You can't say it unless you can defend it. I don't even know what you're talking about. So
you never read that?
You're on your own.
Okay. Well, I can't remember what year it was written, but they're not exactly sure what year. But it was.
It was an anonymous student.
Yes, that was not his name. So his name was not what he had. He had a pen name to write that book because of the persecution that the French Huguenots were getting from the Catholics.
Yeah.
And so he literally was in danger because of this book.
Right.
It was a vindication against tyrants.
Yeah.
And so he's
that makes sense.
It's a fantastic book, and it has been very helpful. It's one of the best books on Protestant resistance theory.
Yeah.
And so you've got, Samuel Rutherford's Rex Lex, you've got Vindicii contra Tyrannos, and you've got, some of, what's his name? I can't remember. But you've got all these are two pivotal books about Protestant resistance theory.
Yeah.
They've been have been a blessing to the church.
Yeah.
And so you've got that. You've got the, if you've ever read the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers that they wrote to each other back and forth. You had Alexander Hamilton on one side writing for the Federalist position, and then the supposed Anti-Federalist guys. Most of them were anonymous. They went by things like, so-and-so farmer and different things because they felt threatened by the majority position. And so they wrote anonymously and argued for their position against the federal government being too big and powerful.
Yeah.
And so you read those writings, and those men were very articulate and very educated and very, very thorough, and it was good.
Yeah.
And so the idea of anonymity in and of itself is not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. And the objective with those is to get truth out and not let truth be subjugated because of my fear of losing my livelihood. So it's about
endangering my family.
It's about communicating truth. And so the truth is what is, it's to be impactful. It's wants to be understood. It's wants.
Yes.
We live in a culture now that what happens if it's done by an anonymous account, now it's kind of losing a bit of its luster. I don't have to listen to you because you're an anon. I don't have to listen to this. And so there's something I want to go to here, maybe not now, but just to talk about the gravitas of an anon account versus the gravitas of a real account.
Yeah.
of a man who is known in his, has people. I think the two. Let's save that. But that's I think there's different.
But in our current climate, there is the reality that if you say certain things, you will be fired.
Yep.
Or worse, you'll be prosecuted.
Yep.
And so, and things, and I'm not talking about things that are sinful or things that are, I'm talking about things that just should not be a crime, should not be a problem. We supposedly live in the land of free speech, and yet you literally
there are sacred cows. There are idols in our culture that if you talk about,
lose your job.
Yeah, this has been showing up with the Jews. You talk about the Jews.
Talk about the Jews.
You're going to lose.
You're in trouble.
You could get in trouble. You
Mel Gibson for an example of that.
You could get ostracized. You could be called out. And we live in cancel culture.
Yeah.
Cancel culture as well.
Yeah. So so if you just literally, if you're like, hey, why are the why is the black community so violent?
Yeah.
If you ask that question online and just to literally discuss it, you're not even saying why. You're just like, I just want to know.
Yeah.
Why are there no fathers in black homes? those kind of questions, you're toast. And so I can say these things because I'm insulated. Like I can't be fired. I work for myself. It's like.
Well, let's talk about that in a minute. How do we amplify our actual voice?
Sure.
How do we not be anonymous?
So while I can say those kind of things and I'm not really worried about it and can talk about it and whatnot, I also am in a position where I don't share some things because everything is public. So I'm not like you in that I'm not like, I've tried the having anonymous accounts and I just can't keep it up. I'm just like, I'm Tanner. I'm just
more than that. If it smells like Tanner and it looks like Tanner, isn't it Tanner?
It's Tanner.
It's Tanner.
I can't do it. I can't become something else. I tried, but so I'm not strategic enough to like care about all that. But one of the things that does is like if I travel out of state for work fairly regularly, I do not post stuff about that while I'm gone.
Yeah,
the jobs.
You're always here.
I'll wait weeks.
You're always at home.
I'm always at home. I will wait weeks after that job to post about that job or anything about going to, I went to Vermont this summer and all that kind of things because I got a family and I have people that hate me. So I have to think about those things.
Bro, we just found out. I mean, I know this is happening. People watch the live stream of Ref Church. People watch. I think there's people that actually have a spreadsheet of everybody they think that goes to Ref Church and stuff by watching the live stream, by seeing interactions, by searching different accounts so they can kind of have it all together. And you think that I might be joking here. I'm literally not joking.
Yeah.
We just saw this again this last week. Somebody's like, well, this, and this. I'm like, whoa, this guy's like totally got my picture in his basement,
Dude, no, I seriously have had people that, I've posted about something and all of a sudden they're like, well, you said this, like, and they had gone through all of my posts for years.
Yeah, to find
scrolling through all of it, looking at everything they could find. People get obsessed with this
and that's
stuff.
Somebody who actually is a believer who's just trying to call you to an account. I know what you're talking about there. Yeah. I'm talking about enemy combatants against us, the people that, the reason why we have security at Ref Church is because these are the kind of people that are thinking about it. They're literally up at night thinking about Ref Church.
Well, these are the guys that actually do live in their mom's basement.
Probably.
Like they really do.
Yeah.
And then that's like, they got nothing else to do, man.
This is the guy that lives with his boyfriend.
Well, exactly. Yeah. His boyfriend's basement. So there's that aspect. We live in a reality where you really can, by saying the most simple things, your livelihood can be taken away, your job can be gone, because people are cowards, man.
Yeah,
they will fire somebody so fast so that they don't get accused.
They get a little bit of pressure.
Oh, my stars! It's so pathetic.
This is why Rigney's book was so good, talking about the
emotional sabotage.
Yeah. Where it's not, this person doesn't have a problem with me, but it's because the person adjacent to him has a problem, and it just that trickle effect of pressure.
Yeah, his explanation of how we are controlled by the most immature among us was incredible.
It's so helpful. So helpful to understand that.
Yeah. So that's a reality. And so I think anonymous accounts are wise for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I know people.
So what are the pitfalls of an anonymous account? And I would just start out with, I think if you have the character of a believer and a Christian, and you're going to write with clarity, that's good. That's righteous. That's great. But I think the temptation is to go a little bit farther and to be tempted towards a harshness and an unchristian-like way that we speak. I've seen an antinomian spirit where people are like dropping F-bombs and stuff like that, and yet they would call themselves believers. I'm like, there's
edgelord type, like
extreme. I wanted to write about this. I think that there's been an overcorrection from the pietism crowd.
There has.
That there's like no piety.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? No, we should have a simple devotion to Christ. We should be gentle in our demeanor. We should be able to refute people in a way that's firm and unyielding, but it's not abrasive and have to be, belligerent.
Yeah.
I know he's not anonymous, but his account is like the Jolly Brawler.
Yeah.
I find everything he says to be just so gentle and clear, but it is uncompromised. It's
dude's not angry.
No, he's not angry about it. He's
not using profanity. He is a perfect example of what an Anon account should be.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you're exactly right. We reacted from the culture, and the little old lady church culture was a lot of it. But we reacted from well, you can't say certain things that or you're in sin or whatever. The teetotaling, you can't say gay, you can't say retarded, you can't say whatever. We've reacted from that to all of a sudden it's like I can scream F you in your face online and I'm okay because Jesus said some harsh things. It's like, no, dude, you're in the other ditch.
Yeah.
You have jerked over into the other ditch.
That Jesus isn't dropping F-bombs.
No.
So I think it's the number one caution is just to you're still Christian.
Yeah.
You're an Anon account with a Christian. You still have to, your words still have to be seasoned with grace.
Yeah.
You still have to be kind in your demeanor.
Yeah.
You got to love your enemy. You have to be reasonable. So what I have found, now these are Anon accounts that I don't know who they are.
Yeah, sure.
They've shown up in my comments before. They've definitely shown up in your comments where they're just vitriolic, retarded, ridiculous in their over-the-top reaction to things, feeling like they can call, you got to quit the ministry, you got to do stuff over. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So there's that side of things as well.
Yeah, well, there's definitely so there are a lot of Anon accounts that are unhinged.
Yeah.
And I mean completely unhinged.
Yeah.
You're a heretic because you don't believe the earth is flat or, whatever. We need to kill all Jews or like there are crazy stuff out there, man.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but here's what they want to do. So I saw this back when, Jeff Durbin was all freaked out about all the Nazis, which I just don't think is an issue at all. And so he is posting screenshots of some of these folks as if that is a sample of all these.
Every Anon out there is this.
And then that becomes the caricature. This is all Anons. They're all nuts. They're all crazy. So anyone that has an Anon account, it's like, well, you need to out yourself. People. I think even James White was calling on an Anon to say what church he went to and all this stuff. And it's like, I think that Anon should go to his pastor and show him the whole interaction with James White. Be like, this is me, and they can laugh about it.
Yeah, that Anon is not accountable to James White, nor does he have to reveal his pastor to 100%. The world. That defeats the intent.
I would encourage that gentleman to go to his pastor.
Yeah, so that was I wrote an article about this, but I think that there's wisdom in everybody being transparent with their actual pastor, if they're a safe pastor. There are unsafe pastors.
Sure,
there are men that I would not disclose my Anon account. Every
apparently
Anon,
James White. I don't know.
I would not. Yeah,
you might end up on the dividing line.
He would definitely out.
I hate to say that.
The spies of Israel.
I would like to think that he would be more pastoral toward his own people.
All right, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever you say. It sure doesn't look like it.
It doesn't seem like it.
Okay, so that's the one side. There's the temptation that way. Now, let's talk about what has happened because there are bad actors. There are bad players that are anonymous. That actually brings the whole category of Anon down.
Sure.
And so if you have an anonymous account, you're dismissed. If you have a certain profile picture, you're dismissed by people that you want them to hear you because you're wanting to speak truth. You want to be able to leverage actual reasoning and talk about issues with them and have them engage that. But because you're anonymous, because you have a certain look, you've actually lost a little bit of voice. And that's a danger, I think. That's one of the pitfalls of an Anon account.
Yeah, there's limits currently to that. I mean, there's limits to as far as what I'm willing to do, on that front. I'm not necessarily willing to give up, I don't know. If I want to do a certain profile picture, if somebody doesn't like it, there's limits to what I'm willing to do so people will listen to me.
Yeah, no, what I'm just pointing out is that an Anon account inherently only has so much gravitas. It only has so much that it can say because the truth is insufficient to pierce the veil, as it were.
Well, because there's always the possibility that Anon is accomplishing nothing.
Yeah.
So that's, frankly, you got accounts like Smash Bayall. That is a fantastic account.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue who that is.
Yeah.
and they are killing it.
I do. Let me show.
Don't tell me. It's better not to know. But it's I love what they're doing. They've got a ton of followers, and there is a lot of gravitas there. But at the same time, there's always a reality that at the end of the day, I don't know who this guy is, what he's doing, if he's actually faithful in real life.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you might be like Corey Mahler and be doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like you'd be childless and like you're just doing nothing but doing a podcast occasionally.
Yeah.
Like that's the
typing online.
and that's the thing with Anons. And so I would encourage people, if you can insulate yourself, you need to do it.
So just the contrast, I think that a man who is established in his career, established in his life, he has a spouse, he has children, he's part of his church, he's known in his church, he's a pillar of his church. That man, when he says something, has greater clarity, greater he can actually rise above the limited cap that I think an Anon is got.
Yeah.
I think the goal of every man should be that I can say what I need to say in this culture and it not affect me.
Yeah.
And I'm not fearful.
Well, you cannot build gravitas just by what you say.
Yeah.
So gravitas is built by what you do.
Yes.
And so the type of man that you are in real life, that is what builds gravitas around you. And so just by what you speak, you can build some gravitas, but it doesn't work that way.
It's amplified by your life. It's amplified by your accomplishments,
100%.
Is your position, and the validation of other men that look at you and respect you.
Yes. In the same way that you look at men like John MacArthur, and he has been faithful for so long. Yeah. That has gravitas. It does. And if we didn't know if he had been faithful for so long, then you could look at all the things people point to, big house and expensive watches or whatever, you could look at that and be like, well, blah, 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 and attack him, his character. Yeah. The dude's been faithful.
No, and this is true. I mean, and I know things are waning and there's a bit of crumbling here, but, this is why Doug Wilson has had gravitas with us. This is why James White has had gravitas with us. He has a body of work and, so
not only a body of work, faithful children who love him. Yeah. And
that speaks volumes. And so, anyways, so let's just talk about how you go from Anon to not. I think there's three main areas that needs to be taken care of. Okay. We've experienced it. We've had people that show up at a church, younger guys that are pretty belligerent online. They're young. They don't have a spouse. That's probably going to hurt their prospects. Maybe it attracts the right spouse. I doubt it. It doesn't look good. But I think having your family set up so you do have something you care about and want to protect, I think that's important. If you're being anonymous and you don't have that, I would align that. So that's like step one. I think step two is the church that you're in. You need to be a part of a church that that you can be bold in and you're not fearful. That if I were to be known that I say this or this, that my own church would not. And this is pie in the sky for some people. They're pretty far away from that. But I think that's an important part of this is finding a solid church. And then the last thing and the thing that we really encourage the young men of our church is entrepreneurship, or at least being insulated. So you can work for a Christian company, but even Christian companies, they are subject to the pressures.
They're cowards. Most of them are just.
So it can be a ministry, but ministries are going to be cowardly. Just let's be blunt. I don't think you'd work for Answers in Genesis is pretty near to us. Yeah. And I'm going to say that they're cowardly, but there's a code of conduct that if they saw that you were saying something online, you'd be gone in a second.
No, I couldn't work for them.
No,
not a chance.
You might be able to do some fencing for them if they ask for some.
As a contractor, yeah.
So I'm going to challenge young men to develop skills and stuff so that they can gain in their independence. Yeah. And so,
for multiple reasons. I mean, I used to
more money, more for your family.
Absolutely, but I mean, so if you are wanting to say things online and you want to have an anonymous account, the reality is that eventually you'll most likely get doxxed. Even the best people, even the people that work the hardest to not, they get doxxed. Things happen.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do that, you're going to put out your thoughts and know there's a risk, you need to be insulated. Someone like Ethan Holden, it's like, yeah, he had an anonymous account, but now everybody knows who he is. And so it doesn't matter. He don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but I would argue all men need to do this, because at the end of the day, even if we're not saying these things online, if we're going to stand against pride stuff coming to our town, if we're going to stand against the murder of the unborn, if we're going to stand against just basic immorality, then we need to be insulated for the sake of our families.
Yeah, it's not just your voice online. It's your voice all over.
Yes.
It's your voice in the church. It's your voice in the community.
Yes.
It's your voice with your family, extended family.
Yep.
Is that the more you are established in these areas, so good wife makes you it makes your voice stronger.
Yeah.
You have a good church, makes your voice really strong. You have a good job, makes it super strong. Those three things together, you have the gravitas now to say what you need to say.
When I am online, the only consideration that I ever have is this true?
Or does this offend my pastor?
No, I don't even worry about that. That should be obvious. But does this, what I'm saying, does this honor the Lord, or is it dishonoring to him? That's my only consideration, because it would drive me nuts if I had to parse out. It's like, oh man, could this get me in trouble? Like, how could this? That would drive me bonkers.
I think that way though.
I
still have that.
I know you do.
I have that strategic mind.
Yes.
It's not just whether it's going to get me in trouble.
That's why he'll have a heart attack.
Yeah. It's not whether it's going to get me in trouble. Is this going to achieve the end goal?
Yeah.
Right? And the end goal is 3 or 4 moves from here.
Sure.
So I'm going to do this to do this to do this.
I think some of that, I'm mostly a shoot from the hip.
That's why I like
guy.
playing chess with you.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I think I should do that right now. Okay, well, let's one move at a time. Sorry to use your Tennessean accent on you.
It's all right.
You're retarded.
Gabriel Wrench. It's retarded, brother.
Dude, that was so epic last night. I was laughing. It's hard to go to sleep. I was laughing so hard.
I love you, Gabe. All right.
Anything else on this Anon?
But you're being retarded.
Anything else on this Anon?
No, I think we've covered that.
Yeah.
I understand why people do it. I think it's a good thing. I think that some guys need to do it, especially for a time. I wouldn't say that everyone needs to get away from it. Like I said, you've got Anon accounts.
I don't use them though for
that,
this kind of stuff that we're talking about. I just don't.
I hear you.
I could. I don't.
Yeah.
They're subversive.
Well, for a while I had one. Remember when Facebook kept suspending my account or whatever back in the day?
Tannerite Cortez.
I made one, a fake one. So what I was doing is I was pushing everything from that account, and then all the other accounts could share from that. So that it would get suspended, I was trying to outsmart Facebook.
Yeah.
And it worked for a while. We didn't, but anyway, then they stopped suspending me for whatever reason.
Yeah,
so.
you just, no, I remember those days. We had to put out some videos.
Zuckerberg started taking some
about some of the
testosterone
nonsense that was happening in our town. And so we wanted a platform to push a video that kind of encapsulated.
Where we didn't get our account shut down.
Yeah. I have 2 on Facebook. I have 2 accounts. I have Gerald Doris and then Jerry Doris. Jerry is my main one that I use.
Yeah.
But Gerald Doris, the only people I have friends is my church.
I've got one like that.
In case I get, out,
if I get
kicked
shut
off,
down,
I can still manage all my accounts
I've got to
and all this
back
kind
up
of stuff.
See all the family pictures.
But that's not anonymous.
No, it's not. Yes.
That's just actually my full name.
But we're not opposed to thinking strategically in a hostile culture, in a hostile environment. I think people should be thinking strategically.
Absolutely.
But they also, several years ago, the term was anti-fragile.
Yeah.
That was the big term being thrown around. That's kind of what we're talking about. Every man should work to be anti-fragile.
Yep.
So we should work to be in a position where, I can call out whoever I want. I've called out our governor quite a bit.
Yeah.
And stuff like that publicly online. And I don't have a fear of repercussions. Right. I'm surrounded, not only as I'm insulated by my job, but I have a great church and a great community around me and people that I trust and believe that are going to be there if I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And have been.
And I'm surrounded by my brothers and all that stuff. So
All right. Well, I think good.
I think so.
All right. If you got questions for us, you can write to us on go to snakeonthetable.com and go to the bottom. There's an anonymous form there that you can fill out, and we'll get those and maybe bring them into the show.
God bless.